What's going on?
Hold on, Jay's out of focus.
No, he only for you. He's in complete good focus for me.
No, he went out of focus there for half a second.
Okay, now this is going to be the actual intro of just them. Like that's why I only dropped a mother. That's why I didn't swear. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Littleroot Lessons episode 240. I am currently beshambled, belizzled. The Phillies are playing a playoff game right now, and I'm doing my best to not just divert to my base form of Angelo James Pagano, South Philly, Guinea. If you see me make faces during the episode, there probably something good happened or something truly awful happened. You will be able to find the exact moment on this recording when my heart breaks. Also, Jay and Carter are here. Hi, guys.
Hold on. I feel like there was a lot of things that were just kind of glazed over there for half a second. Mainly me and Jay.
Listen, like, there will be people... I mean, I can already think, Jam, if you listen to the podcast and the Phillies do lose, he will be listening and watching for the exact moment where he sees my heart shatter. So, also... putting this is the one time I get to look at my phone to watch sports, which is usually a weekly occurrence.
I don't get that pleasure anymore.
No, we record early, so we can't.
No, Jay changed his Fubo account, so now I can't watch TV.
I didn't change my account. See, that makes it sound a lot worse than it actually is. I canceled it because it's very expensive and I don't have money.
Wait, you canceled it completely?
Yeah, well, I have the YouTube TV instead. I had both.
Because it's... See, when I go to look on it, it's like, hey, you're still currently being charged $79.99 or whatever. I'm like, all right, whatever.
That should not be the case.
Yeah, you might want to go look at that.
I certainly canceled that.
Yeah, because I can still log in and, like, watch stuff. It's just not local stuff anymore.
Okay, maybe just don't log in and watch stuff.
I would go look at that.
I haven't done anything. I can't watch what I want to watch.
We are a Pokemon podcast as well.
I'm going to go re-up that real quick.
Okay, while Carter's doing that, we're going to introduce what we're doing. As Carter, since you were not here last week with some personal projects, Jay...
Why did I take last week off?
I think you were doing something in the basement.
No, my subscription ended, Carter. We're good.
Okay.
Okay. Carter was doing something in his basement. Listeners' imagination. And Jay and I went over some of the regionals last weekend, and then we decided it is time to re-up our tier list. Now, initially, we were thinking, do we just do a new one, or do we find our old tier list and make fun of ourselves for just the really dumb things that we did? And Jay and I, just doing a quick view, we were firing on zero cylinders when we made this.
I wanted to be known. I don't remember being on this podcast.
You were on the
clearly
podcast.
Wasn't me
because you were also
here.
pushing. Because you and Jay were pushing for T-Tar's C tier, and I let in, and then it's been pretty solid. So,
I'm gonna go look.
You did. Anyways, we're revisiting our tier list. Also, while there was an event this weekend, the Lima special event in Peru, it was won by the same 6 that Nails used to win the September Global Challenge, that being Choice Band Dragapult, Goggles Ensign, Citrus, Amoonguss, Sneasler, AV Blood Moon, and Banded Dragapult. We don't have a paste, or at least we don't have one on hand, not that I've seen. So Blood Moon finally gets a win, and diving right into the tier list, you could see that Blood Moon Ursaluna was one of the 5 Pokemon we named as S tier going into the format. And
I'm on the thumbnail for that, so I'm gonna say I was on that episode.
Yes, you were on the episode. Blood Moon Ursaluna's probably been, personally for me, the biggest disappointment of Regulation H so far. We all thought that this was going to be the best special attacker in the game. It was going to be a massive difference maker of a Pokemon, and it's been outside of today and Nails' victory with it in the best of one closed team sheet global challenge. it's been very disappointing.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it probably still is the best special attacker in the format.
I don't think so.
It's Goldango.
Yeah,
Well,
I think
yeah,
it's Goldie. Easy.
outside of Goldie, yeah, I missed Goldie when I was looking over everything, but it's like it's still like a top three special attacker, I think, but it just hasn't. I think its typing is kind of weird into the format right now. There's not a ton of electrics. A lot of the steels are Terra Grass or they Terra away. Um, you know, uh, it's good into fire types like Incin as well, which is always helpful, but not the results we really were expecting from it.
Amoonguss has been really, really good this format, and Amoonguss is definitely one of the worst matchups for Blood Moon or Saluna. Also, in general, where it is speed wise is really rough as well. The Trick Room sweepers are slower than it, and also it just feels, unless you're using Porygon 2, a lot tougher to get Trick Room up on these softer Trick Room teams. Um, and as Jay also said, you're in this spot where like it's just a lot of awkward and bad matchups. Goldango's a bad matchup for you. Prim is a bad matchup for you. When we get to all of the fighting types that are in the format, those aren't great matchups. In general, its rain matchup is super, super awkward. You're playing the are they going to not Terra the Arch and I can click Earth Power, or they are going to Terra the Arch and I have to click Blood Moon, that 50-50. In the last local I played in, I was up against Caleb Ryer, Cable VGC, and that was pretty much the 50-50 where it was whoever called that is the Arch going to Terra, is it not going to Terra, won the game, and, well, I lost the 50-50 and subsequently lost the game. I still, that being said, it did win a GC. It just won a special event. I do think it's a very good Mon, and I'd probably move it down like low A for now. Any arguments against A?
No, I think A is probably a fitting spot for it.
I think if we're gonna move it down to A, I think regular Luna needs to come up to A as well.
That was what I was just
Yeah,
about to
for
say.
sure.
We've seen regular Luna a lot more. It's really been an amazing Pokemon. We've seen it. The team that Nils Dunlop used to win EUIC, that core of P2 or Saluna with Incin, Goldango, and Amoonguss, like that sort of team has been super, super popular. I definitely think that this is the format where Hisuian Ursaluna is finally being the menace that we all thought it was going to be going into Regulation D. Closing out S tier, I think there's one Pokemon that will take Ursaluna's place or Blood Moon's place in S tier, and to me that is Kingambit.
Gambit, real good.
Yeah,
News at 11.
it's better than what we thought,
Which is interesting because there's like a ton of fighting coverage running around the format right now, not only in Annihilate and Sneasler and Body Press on Archaludon, but like a lot of Pokemon who can run low kick are running low kick right now. It's
the most common Terra for P2 right now is Terra Fighting for Terra Fighting Terra Blast.
Yep.
So there's like a ton of King Gambit hate in the format. Like this, there's been a lot of memes on Twitter recently about the three steals of the format and how they're so dominant, and it is true. I honestly think that argumentatively, like I think that I would argue for Archaludon to go up into S tier as well.
I would as well.
I honestly, I have no argument. Really, I was going to say super high A, but at that point, I like super high A, low S. You're right. There are the three steals in the format. You need to, in my opinion, you should be using one of these three Pokemon on every team, if not two of them. Like you can easily put two steals on a team and have no issue.
My Louisville team has no steel type.
Yours might, and the thing is,
and here's the thing: I feel like I have a positive matchup into all three of these.
You do. Your team does. It does have a good matchup. But yeah, it's these three are unbelievable.
Yeah,
Rillaboom.
The Rilla King Gambit core is like genuinely absolutely absurd.
Yeah, so
just being able to play those two together, as well as like at that point is like King Gambit, Rilla, and then like Prim. I really like together. Like those three are just like bananas.
Yeah, no, they're insanely. These three are insanely powerful. And one of the things we did see at Dortmund was the amount of solo arches, so like non-rain arches that were being played. Arch made top 12 of day 2. And Pelipper was not in the top 12. It was just outside. So there were a handful of people that were saying, I'm going to use Archaludon, whether it's a power herb set or even just still having Electro Shot and saying, I'll wait the turn. The boost is that important. Or using it as a Snarl bot. The Pokemon's just insanely good and the typing's insanely good. Down to A tier. Let's tackle it this way. What Pokemon do we feel like need to be moved out of A tier and where? Because I can see three.
Palafin needs to be dropped off a cliff.
Palafin.
I think that is the simplest way to put it. I think Palafin going into this, I played a lot of Palafin in like early days, anticipating this thing to like, one, be absolutely absurd, and two, like help Blood Moon get brought down in like its power level. I thought it was going to be a really good check into like specifically Blood Moon, especially on the like rain teams with Pelipper. It's like Jet Punch is already hit for a ton. Now you can just do like Choice Band or Mystic Water Jet Punches in the rain. Like that sounds absolutely absurd, and like it's not seen at all.
No, it's like I'm putting it in C, and I feel like that's Mercy because it's probably a D tier mon.
Actually, I have data pulled up here from Dartmouth. It had 17, and its highest placement was 123.
I think
Palafin had a rough day.
Palafin really struggles because of how long it's taking to actually get itself going. Like a lot of these Pokemon that are up in the S and A tiers are able to get, if they have like a setup oriented strategy, like the Archaludon or the Swords Dance King Gambit or the Nasty Plot Golden Go, they can get it one turn and they're ready to start dealing tons of damage. The fact that you need to not only switch the Palafin out, get it back in before it can do anything is 2 turns, but also position it properly makes it so incredibly difficult in this format when the power level is actually very high. The Pokemon that we have are not the strongest of the strong. They're not the big restricted Pokemon, but there is a ton of heavy hitters on all sides of the spectrum here.
When this format was announced, I was super excited about it because I'm like, oh man, this is going to be a lower power format. It's going to be right up my alley. And like, legitimately, I have loved playing this format. And like the power level of it is
higher than expected.
So much higher than what I originally anticipated. I think a lot of us can say that.
Yeah, like in terms of power level, I feel like this format is it. So like that's the thing. It's like speaking of power level, it feels like you don't have the legendaries that made Regulation D, or even the Ruins or Paradox Mons that made B and C powerful. But you're right. On the other side, I feel like a lot of these Pokemon are just so much stronger. Also, I just looked at Lab Mouse. In the last 2 weeks for tournaments with 50 players or more, the highest finish Palafin has is 22nd in yesterday's Spear Pillar tournament. With a 5-3 finish. Again, it's C tier.
I think C tier is really generous.
I think it's super generous. Like, if you say put it in D, I'll do it.
I mean, like, it's people are still playing it, so like I think you have to respect it in some aspect, but like it's not where I think it is definitely not to a point where I think D tier is just like stuff you can completely ignore and you will never see. Like I think that's how I see D tier. Is just like, these are bad. Don't play these Pokemon. And I think there is like an argument that like Palafin is not something to completely write off.
Yeah.
It is something to be like aware that it does exist. So I think like C tier is kind of that barrier of like anything above C tier is like what I'm anticipating to see if I was to play 50 matches on Showdown. I would anticipate running into these Pokemon probably once.
Okay.
Minimum, right?
No, I think that's fair. I think that's definitely fair. I know another Pokemon to put that I think it needs to be moved down. Just going through it, I'd say like the main ones. Like these are probably lower. Are just super quick. Como-O's fine. I think like these are like smaller moves. I think like the Dragons, Como-O, and Baxcalibur are fine. We really aren't seeing them as well. Baxcalibur, we're not really seeing much at all. I still think.
I mean, Como top 8 in Dortmund, so like
it did top 8 Dortmund. I think it's a good mon. There's sets that are workable for it. I also think there's just better fighting types. I don't think it's A tier good. I think.
I think like going off that 50 match set, I would definitely anticipate playing into a Como at least once.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, I think it's like a very niche pick in the format right now. Iron Defense Body Press is really strong with Overcoat, allowing you to get around a Mungus.
The Clingers.
And allowing you to like play on these sand teams that are running around as well.
Yeah, but I think it's...
play it on sand or like play it against sand and it'd be fine there as well.
Yeah, it still has that 4 times weakness to Fairy, which is, around. Dragon type coverage is very popular right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of dragons. I mean, Primarina is another one that has like popped up a lot compared to where I anticipated it starting. So like, that's your like premier fairy in the format. Is like you have to be prepared for like a Primarina Moonblast.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing. So you can run Terrafire with Soundproof, and this is what was ran last weekend in Dortmund. And by running Soundproof, you're with the Terrafire, you're at least shutting down Prim's ability to do damage into you. The Moonblast is resisted, and Soundproof means that Hyper Voice is a do-nothing button. You also struggle, though, against Prim because of pretty much every single one runs Haze.
Doesn't Bulletproof stop Moonblast, too?
No.
I feel like I've asked this before.
It stops Shadow.
It
stops Shadow Ball.
Yeah, so you could use Shadow Ball with Terrafire, Terra Steel, to wall out Fluttermane in earlier formats, which is why Bulletproof was popular. Soundproof also lets you run into and with Perish Song teams too, which I think is like unique. Como has a lot of like really fun use cases for it. I just think that it's 4 times weakness. We've seen a lot of flying type coverage too, which it also doesn't like to see. Pelipper is a really tough matchup for it. And Arch's ability to get set up so quickly makes its matchup into Rain pretty difficult. A lot of Terra Ghost in the format as well to get around Fake Out. So very niche to me, but still solid.
Yeah, I would say in general, keeping both, and then Baxcalibur, it's definitely low B. There's some use for it. Actually, no, I think I want to put Bax in C because
I would agree with that.
It's the amount of what's it called? The amount of steel types, and of course, in general, most of the time when I'm moving these mons, they aren't in order. Just to bang out, I'd say like the last 3 mons, I personally think need to be moved out of A tier. Female Indeedee.
I think Indeedee is a solid B. I think Armarouge you could probably drop down to C.
Yeah, it's not.
And honestly, I think Giraffe is probably.
It's a BC.
It's
definitely a B tier at least.
I personally think it might be slightly leaning towards C. I've been playing. I played a lot last night with Fergarath, and There's a lot of things about it that feel very underwhelming. In this format, it's very high paced. There's a lot of Pokemon that resist it, specifically all the steel types. You don't hit any of them for really any damage whatsoever with your stabs. So you need to run like Terra Blast, Terra Ground, or Terra Fighting to actually do anything into them.
Yeah.
And
See,
the damage just feels underwhelming overall.
Yeah, I feel like
it was probably about a month ago. I was playtesting a lot of Giraffe, and I was really, really impressed with how Giraffe was shaping up there.
a lot's
But like,
changed in a
I
month.
think, yeah, granted, a lot has changed in a month, and I think the other thing about it is what you're saying about its damage output is so true. That was like the one complaint I had about Giraffe. Which is like, man, it doesn't matter what attacking move I run on this thing, it's getting walled by. If I change it to psychic coverage, I'm then getting walled by so many other Pokemon, and so if I change it back to Hyper Voice, then I'm getting walled by, the Steel types and Wide Guard. It's like, so like, what is the correct move to play? So I started playing like Shadow Ball at one point, which didn't feel great.
That's the move that's blocked by Bulletproof.
Yep.
Yeah. I was running a choice spec set with it with Terra Blast, Hyper Voice, Psychic, and Shadow Ball. And
see, I was playing it next to Blood Moon, so it's just like, yeah, this is going to be the way I get Trick Room up, because like dealing with a Giraffe in one turn to prevent Trick Room, especially Mental Herb, like Mental Herb Giraffe is really hard to deal with.
Yes.
Like, you can't taunt it. You can't like prankster taunt it. you can't prankster anything it.
Well, the issue is with Giraffe, and so when I was playing a lot of Giraffe Blood Moon early in the meta, and Wolf said, and this is something Wolf brought up as well, because when he was running it on the Hyper Offense team he used in a grassroots tour a little bit before Baltimore, Giraffe just can't live against, like, I think it's the Terra. The only way it's living against, like, it has to Terra into a defensive Terra against Typhlosion's Eruption. Well, assuming Typhlosion's Eruption, especially when you count in the Terra, the Specs, the Trick Room, not the Trick Room, the Sun, like the amount of multipliers. And that was an issue that I ran into in my testing, where I would be forced to Terra to get my Trick Room up, and then now my Blood Moon can't go Terra normal, and I can't take advantage of that. Or I think the other Pokemon I was using, like at the time, like my Tyranitar is stuck as a dark rock type, and now my team in general is just super fighting weak. A lot of the Giraffes I have seen do well recently, or at least well enough, are the Throat Spray variants to help with that offense, and that is a definite like change it could make. But as of right now, I don't see a world where I'm returning to Giraffe, which really sucks, because again, one of my favorite Pokemon of this generation. Out of the remaining S tiers, are there any that you guys think should drop?
Out of S or A?
I'm sorry, A tiers. I think we're all in agreement on these are the 6 S tier mons. Any A tiers?
I think there's probably an argument to drop Ape down. It's been fine, but I do think that, like, compared to where I anticipated it being, it is definitely underperformed. It's still, like, looking at the Dartman data, it's still top 20 in usage. And like, it ended up winning the event as well. So like, obviously shout outs to my boy Annihilate for carrying the event, but I do think that, like, I think the biggest problem is Incineroar's not nearly as good in this format as people anticipated.
It's still S tier, but
it still is.
But
like,
it's not like
one
60,
of the best Pokemon.
It's not,
but it is not the best Pokemon.
Yeah.
I think is the simplest way to put it.
It's not.
I think we can all agree that Rillaboom is by far the most impactful Pokemon in this format.
Goldengo.
I'd probably lean towards Goldie right now too. These steel types, their damage output and defensive profile is just absurd into everything.
I think it's flipping a coin, and I'll just do it there. I know. Whoops, definitely not there. I'm not drunk yet, folks. Give me. Actually, I'm out of alcohol. This is my only drink I have, so pray for me.
Rest in peace.
Yesterday,
I think that like,
well, with
especially when it comes to like usage, Rillaboom is by far more.
no, actually, that's what I was just about to say. So in yesterday's Spear Pillar tournament, Rillaboom and Goldango were tied.
Interesting. Okay. I'm looking at the data from last weekend. So
yeah. So I'm just going by last weekend, and last weekend as well. I will say that Rillaboom is a key component of one of the most popular teams, especially in Europe. The balance team that we covered last week. However, Goldango is just as important of a part of the other most popular balance team with the Incineroar P2. So these two Mons here represent the two most common balance cores, and honestly, two of the just flat out best teams in the format. So I'd say all of these good. I wouldn't mind putting Wims in B.
Whimsicott's another one that
I thought it'd be better.
Again, based on where I anticipated this format going,
I thought it'd be a lot better.
It's done fine, but I mean, it's not. Again, I think that it is underperformed where I anticipated it being.
Yeah, I think.
That being said, again, it plus Ape just won last weekend too. So
it definitely did, but I think it wasn't it was part of the core with Ape. It was just the speed control, and in general, I think we have moved to a very balancey format. The early hyper offensive teams are really struggling now and are getting broken real easily, partially because of the pivotability, the speed of the formats, and then once you get a Gambit at +2 Terra Dark, that Sucker Punch is messing everything up before you're able to get going. So I think that's...
You know what it doesn't affect? Psychic Terrain.
Yes.
Nice King Gambit, idiot.
I think for things that we definitely... Actually, I'm going to... Because we're keeping Talonflame in A. I'll keep
I was going to argue to drop
still...
Talonflame down, personally.
You want to do
that
both?
That was my pick. I think we keep Ape up.
Yeah.
So I think that Ape is still really, really good. Whimsicott has been a little underwhelming, and I think that Talonflame overall just hasn't really had the matchups in the format. Dragapult is a thing in the format right now, especially being paired alongside Fake Out. So getting that speed control is not as consistent anymore. A lot of times you'll have to dump a Terra Ghost even with the Covert Cloak on Talonflame. And it's very frail. Its damage output is really not there. After it clicks Tailwind, a lot of the times it kind of just sits there and doesn't have too much to do. And it feels like it really needs that Terra Flying to do any type of damage into really any Pokemon, including Pokemon that hits super effectively. So, I'm not a huge Talonflame fan.
Talonflame is the second fastest Will-O-Wisp user in this format.
It is, and that
if you go off of just speed stat alone. The fastest being Dragapult.
Yeah. So it's the fastest Mon actually using it. And speaking of Dragapult, I will say not a soul was talking about Dragapult at the beginning when we did this tier list. So the fact that we all collectively knew, hey, this shit's good, and we put an A tier, pat yourselves on the back, boys. I mean,
it's the fastest Pokemon that's going to see play.
Yeah, it's not rocket science here.
It's not, but apparently it was for everyone else because it took the meta about a month or so to realize, oh wait, this is...
I think it's the same thing that we saw in Sword and Shield of just 213 is max speed Dragapult, so that means I'm going to start EVing my Tailwind teams to that 107 speed stat, so I can hit that 214, so I can outspeed Dragapult.
Yeah.
The problem with what I'm just saying is it's no longer the fastest Pokemon in the format. We have Unburdened Sneasler.
Okay, so you want to... my next question was, what are we moving up to A tier? And we might as well rip the Band-Aid off. Folks, you know how I was just saying how smart we were for Dragapult? Well, I'm just going to scroll down. And I'm going to use the excuse for all of us. It was towards the end of the episode.
Womp womp womp. We messed up, people.
We are not smart folks.
It's time for us to make a YouTube apology. I made a
Who do I look like,
continuous and serious lapse in my judgment. I'm sorry that I filmed Sneasler in that forest in the D tiers.
You know,
okay.
Jay, we're supposed to do it in the last 3 minutes, completely forget, like, all of the other crap we did, and then just end the video. I'm not explaining.
Anyway, I'm back to making content again, guys.
Oh yeah, no, Carter is like he's like it's scripts done and recorded.
It's the video is in the editing stage. I haven't talked to Carl about how far he's gotten it on.
I'll
anything,
find out in like a week when he tells me. Here's a thumbnail. Put it. Go tweet about it. If you didn't get any of those references, I'm not explaining them, but you can DM me and I will explain them.
Just go look on Twitter.
Just look on Twitter.
Go see why the mob is mad this week on Twitter, and you'll understand.
This time it's rightfully so. Sneasler's really...
I mean, I'm not disagreeing.
Yeah.
Like
Sneasler. Yeah. Back to Mons. Sneasler is.
I mean, it's relevant to Mons.
Yeah, yes. Sneasler's are really good, folks. So I know Carter did mention the Unburdened set, and while the Unburdened set it's actually not the most common. I just looked at the lab mouse data. The Poison Touch set is slightly more common, but it's like a 54 to 46 split. It's not like it's one significantly better than the other. Sneasler is with Dragapult at the top of the speed tier. I know Jay had the speed stat off the top of his head, or relatively close last week.
189.
That is correct.
Yep. Yeah, so that is quite fast. Fighting type coverage is amazing in the format. We just talked about, the steel types, Incineroar, the normal types, P2, ursaluna, close combat your ass. And close.
You know what's really good? Fake out into clapping.
Yeah.
Clapping into clapping.
Yeah. Being the fastest relevant fake out in the format is absolutely massive. Having a really, really great attack stat to take advantage of your fighting type coverage is also great. One of the Pokemon that was on the top end, the water type of choice in these balanced teams, a Pokemon that I kind of enjoyed using in Paldean Tauros, the issue it had was without Stellar Terra or like a Terra Boost or Life Orb or something along the lines of that, your close combat, even at 252 Adamant, was missing on the common arches. You aren't missing that on the Sneasler, or at least not as often as you are with Tauros. I think Sneasler might be a roll. Tauros, it's like you're never getting it. Also, Dire Claw, Jay, why don't you actually... No, Carter, you've been the one using Sneasler. Why don't you explain
you don't know that.
No, I do. You have mine right now. So why don't you go and explain to the folks why Dire Claw is a mistake?
Dire Claw is a fucked up move. Like, to put it very bluntly, the number of games I've won where it's like, oh, I parried you. Huh. Neat. Or, guess you're asleep now. The number of games where just like Dire Claw gets an incidental roll and like causes a sleep or a para is like insane. And I mean, I've won games because I've gotten a poison too. Like, well, you lived on 3. Had my Dire Claw rolled poison here, you were dead. So,
and that also is one of the reasons why people are running the Poison Touch. It can act as a sash breaker as well. The way that Dire Claw interacts with Poison Touch is it'll roll for the move effect first, so your poison, like the Poison Touch, won't override the Dire Claw. So it'll roll for Sleep Para Poison via Dire Claw first, and then after that, it'll roll for its 30% chance of poison if the Dire Claw did fail any of its chances. They also buffed Dire Claw, going from Legends of Arceus into Scarlet and Violet. in Legends of Arceus, it was only a 60 base power move, and they were like, oh, well,
it also was
80.
a high crit chance move in PLA.
Yeah, so they took away the high crit chance, and they gave it 20 more base power. Also, I just ran the calc, so if you're Jolly Sneasler, you never pick up Arch, but if you're Adamant 252, close combat is it's a 50-50. And of course, a lot of these Sash Sneaslers are running, some of them are running using the Stellar Terra as a option. According to LabMouse data, Stellar Terra is current at, so this was based on, let me see if I can go back to Dortmund.
Dortmund was 57%.
And then, which is by far the most common, and then it was 2/3 of the Sneaslers in Joinville were Stellar Terra. So going into Louisville,
Joinville was only like 100-some players.
111. Right? So kind of like, but even then, like if you want to go to like a slightly larger tournament than that, Spirit Pillar yesterday was like 48%, and Spirit Pillar was, I want to say like it was a more than Joinville. In general, you need to be prepped for Sneasler going into any event you go to for the rest of Regulation H. Honestly, if there was another Pokemon to put Nest here, I would put it would be Sneasler.
I think there's an argument for it, but
I think that there's just too much going against it as well.
People are really
like,
yeah.
Its primary core of moves with Dire Claw and Close Combat don't hit Ghost types well at all. There's a lot of Terra Ghost. There's a lot of really strong Ghost types. Yeah, that's the other thing. So some sets will run like Terra Dark with Throat Chop, but there's also you run Coaching or Fake Out on it sometimes as well. But those like third moves sometimes don't feel super effective like in the actual course of playing with it. As Carter was playing with it,
that last thought was the hardest thing to figure out of what I wanted to play on Sneasler.
I was also playing with it, and I know I had some differing opinions from what Carter ended up choosing for it, but it's just such a tough choice because you want to have all of these things on it, but you can't. And so you end up leaving like gaping holes in your strategy with it. And that becomes a little bit tough. And like if you're going to run the Unburdened set, you're not going to live that many hits even with the special defense or defense boost. If you're running the Sash set, you're not going to be as fast. You might lose some speed ties to opposing Sneaslers. Dragapult is a really big problem for you as well.
And especially, the Dragapult is going to be played a lot of times next to the Sneasler. That was one of the most common teams that we saw.
And we've seen a lot of Terra Poison Prim as well, which has been a really big, on that same exact team as well, which create a really rough matchup for Sneasler overall.
One of the Twitter trends of the week, especially like Monday, Tuesday, was what's more toxic, Urshifu or Sneasler? And it's like...
Urshifu.
Dire Claw.
It's not close.
So initially I was like Sneasler, and I was listening to Tub, and they were like, the point that was made was people aren't prepping for Sneasler the same, like the reason, like, so Urshifu,
people aren't prepping for Sneasler, and it's like people prepped for Urshifu, and it's still put up results every weekend.
Yeah, like Urshifu warps the meta. I could say, I will say this: I can at least plan for Urshifu. I know it's going to crit every time. I know what it does. I know I can't click protect in front of it. Sneasler, the annoying part is
it's one attack.
It's one
attack, and it's fast.
And that attack takes everything out of control. And in a game where there are critical hits, there can be misses. You want to have as much control. It can make Urshifu, and I'll say this: earlier in the week, I was like, "Oh yeah, it's definitely Sneasler," because I want control. And at least for the Pokemon that breaks rules, it tells me directly how it's breaking the rules. Sneasler's like, I'm going to be an annoying little shit, and I'm not going to tell you how. So,
okay, what's worse, Dire Claw or Tri-Attack? Because Tri-Attack can fucking freeze your ass.
Yeah,
I think it's the fact that the Pokemon using Tri-Attack
are all bad.
Like outside of P2, and P2 in most cases
That's it.
wants to use Terra Blast instead, because it wants offensive typing, especially in this format that isn't normal. Going on to the other fighting type that I think
I just learned Hydreigon gets Tri Attack, and now I want someone to do that. I want someone to win a game on camera.
How did you not know that?
With Tri Attack Hydreigon getting a freeze.
The Phillies are winning.
Yeah, but who cares?
I care so much. Like you if you want a co-host past this week, you should care too. The other fighting type that
I have Jay.
Fuck you. The other fighting type I think that should be moved up to A tier is the other super fast fighter in Flamigo. Flamigo has been used a lot with the Ursaluna. So, like, Flamigo is been used with the P2 Ursaluna, Incin, Goldie, Amoonguss team. It's the flyer for you to be able to click Earthquake next to. And what's really great is all of the issues we were just talking about with Sneasler. You got to choose your coverage. You have to figure out, like, am I just going to hard lose to Goldango? Am I not? What am I doing with that? You have Scrappy, so...
Flamigo doesn't care.
Nope, Flamigo takes... Yeah, it just messes up Goldango. And that's another thing where Flamigo is just another really strong Pokemon that is able to do a ton of damage. It is a little on the slower side compared to Sneasler. It's only base 90 speed. But one of the other things that it does have, you're usually running Protect, Brave Bird, Close Combat. Some of them will run Dual Wing Beat instead if you want to, be able to break sashes and such. Specifically against against Pokemon such as Sneasler or against opposing Flamigo. And the last slot, you have two insanely good support options. The first being Wide Guard, a move that is great at walling out Pokemon such as Goldango and Primarina, stopping them from clicking their two best moves. Or you can run Tailwind. It can act as a support option. My buddy Calvin was really big on Flamigo week 1, and he was the one that kind of put it in my ear, and that's why I ended up in C tier instead of D tier. And he was they were really, really right. And
I think one of the craziest things about this is we've had 3 regionals so far, right? 2 of which were on the same weekend since Reg H has started. That's right? 3?
Technically,
yes.
like 4 with Lima today, but yeah.
Okay, yes. Which we don't have data from Lima yet, right? I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen a single thing. I mean, I just know what
3 official tournaments that we have data from, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
2 of those, the 2 weekends we had them, the breakout Pokemon for both of them was a fighting type. Like, Flamigo came out heavy in Baltimore, right? It was Baltimore?
Yeah. Yeah, it was the team I mentioned.
This past week was, like, the rise of Sneasler.
Yeah.
So,
which fighting type's going to break out in Louisville?
Let me look real quick.
Annihilate.
You're going to pray tonight. Annihilate's going to break.
I'm really hoping it's Ape.
Annihilate
like, specifically for one player.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are there any other
Terra fighting P2 is gonna
yeah.
break
No,
out.
that's already had its time in this done.
I think that Garchomp needs to be moved up
Garchomp A tier. I've been playing Garchomp recently. It's fun. The life orb, and that's the other thing. I feel like that you can run life orb on the Chomp and let it do damage. While there is Intimidate with the Incineroar, I feel like it's not as oppressive as it's been in the past, where it's like if you aren't running Clear Amulet, you're just dead. I feel like with Garchomp, you're able to go ahead and run that life orb. You can play around the Intimidate. You can, play Pokemon.
You can Swords Dance.
You don't even need Swords Dance. Just the right.
No, you don't, but you can.
You
and
can.
Then they're really sad.
Yeah, I mean, you also just do hit Incineroar super effectively. It's tough to bring your Intimidator into a matchup where, the best you're going to do is Intimidate it and still probably get KO'd by an Earthquake or a Stomping Tantrum.
Yeah.
I really, really enjoy Garchomp.
I think it's a super cool Pokemon.
It's very strong. We're seeing it with, some of the flying types. We see it with, Terraflying Tyranitar. It has good matchups into a lot of the format, and it's really
we've
cool.
seen and it's been on another popular-ish balance core with Goldango, Prim, Incin, sometimes Flamigo, and another Pokemon that I think that honestly a mon that we kind of didn't expect to be this good. So I'm not going to take the L for this as much.
I'm curious how high you're going with this one.
I'm putting Viv in B. I think it's very fair. It has multiple top 8s. It has multiple top 8s. It has multiple top 8s. It's a high-end Pokemon. It's very, very, very good. I've been testing it recently. Compound Eyes, giving it a very fast 97% sleep move is absolutely insane. You're able
except on that 3% when it misses.
Yes, but
hello, I play Maushold. I've missed many a 99% roll.
You have that. You have the Hurricane. So flying type coverage is another thing that's really, really strong in this format. Being able to have that fast stab flying coverage that's high base power as well to mitigate its lower base stats. That's the reason why that's one of the reasons why Flamigo's in A as well, because it has the stab flying. The reason why Pelipper has been so good throughout the entirety of Generation 9. Like, we didn't really talk about Dragonite, but one of the big standouts I noticed with Dragonite when we started covering these regionals was that Terra Flying was being used just as often as the Terra Normal, and we're seeing the Terra Blast come back into play. What Viv is able to do is give you the sleep and the redirection that Amoonguss can give you, but also give you a ground type immunity so you can stick it next to a Pokemon such as Ursaluna, Hisuian, or Garchomp. It gives you a much faster speed mode where you're able to actually threaten a lot of these balanced mons. Viv is faster than everything on these balanced teams outside of the Dragapult and the Sneasler, and you have Sash to make sure you're living one of those hits. Or you're just sitting there, you're redirecting, whether it's the Swords Dance on your Garchomp, the Nasty Plot on your Goldango. It takes its 2 hits, it drops, but it did its job because now your pseudo-legendary is boosted and is going to sweep through the remaining mons on your opponent's team. I think it's very, very good. I think it currently has the proper amount of hype. I think it's a solid B tier mon. That goes well with the Garchomp that we just mentioned. Another Pokemon that goes well with Garchomp, and I think it might be the last mon we move to A tier, unless you guys think of something, is
Basculegion, I think, should also move up.
Which one?
Basculegion, I think, is far better than the majority of the Pokemon in that tier.
Deserves this way more than Ninetales does.
How many? Yeah, well, Ninetales has as many wins as Basculegion does.
Yeah,
and
but like
it's on Ninetales was on both finalist teams, and I think when you look at the players who are pushing Ninetales, so we did learn during Tub that Gabriel Agati, the Joinville champion, was the one to give the 6, what we were calling the Paul Chua 6, to Paul. So it's really the Agati 6. But yes, you have Gabriel Agati and Paul Chua, 2 of the, call them top 10 players, like currently active, are saying this mon is good. In a format with the amount of dragon types in it that we're seeing, along with Prim as a water type, where you have freeze dry, having Blizzard Spam with a freeze dry option is absolutely insane in this format. You really can't view Ninetales right now as the fast screen setter and weather control mon of past formats, specifically Regulation E, when we saw all of those snow teams with Baxcalibur pop up. You're literally looking at 100% blizzards, Terra Ice, I'm blowing you up, I am taking out this Dragapult, I'm taking out this Garchomp, the Dragonite, your grass types here, I'm threatening the Terra Dragon Goldengos. It can be an absolute problem for a lot of Pokemon. Like, just looking at this list of what we have up here, the only Pokemon in S and A tier that really want to see it would be like Goldengo, as long as it didn't Terra, Sneasler, and Arch. Really, like King Gambit really can't even do a ton into it because most of them are running double dark coverage. They don't have the Steel Stab to hit.
You still do a ton into it, let me tell you.
But you
your bulk is 73, 75, 100.
But you encore.
And like my big complaint about it is your damage output also, like, it's fine, like it's respectable, but it's not insane. Like you're coming off of base 81 special attack.
The ice, you're getting the multipliers with your stab with the Terra, and just the ice type stab in this format.
Yeah, but I also
really,
don't
really
want to
good.
be tearing my Ninetales. Like
I think if you're guaranteeing some KOs, you definitely will.
I haven't played with this thing, but there's also a reason I haven't played with it. Like I don't respect it.
I think
simply,
if you're not
simply put, I don't think this thing is very good.
I think if you're disrespecting it, you're going to run into some issues. I'm
pretty sure I have 100% win rate against Ninetales in this.
Well,
event.
That's good for you.
I have data.
We can find out. I think it's an A tier mon. I think it's the only good ice type in the format right now.
There's a reason.
I personally,
when the bar is on the floor, it's really hard to trip over it.
I lean maybe a little bit more towards like very high B tier. I think that it does have problems. I don't think it's extremely complete. Like the steel types do a very good job at just preventing it from doing what it wants to do. I know that it has been on some very successful teams of very successful players, but at times it does remain, the question is this Pokemon really good, or is it, sometimes just player diff on the players being that good. I think that the support set with Encore is really fun, but
the offensive set's also running Encore.
Its speed tier leaves a decent amount to be, axed for in this format, especially when things like Sneasler and like Phantom Force Dragapult are actually problems for it. It probably, its damage into Prim, which is another good thing that it does, is probably not extremely substantial. The Terra Ice sets are pretty fake out weak. It's a little up in the air with me. I think I'm not as high on it. I definitely don't disrespect it, but I don't think that it's to the same level as all of these Pokemon that are in A tier up there. I think that all of them are just on a different level.
I think if you're saying it's a high B, the fact that it has 3 regional finalist placings, in my opinion, is enough to bump it up to like what I would call a low A. I'm not saying it's better than, like, we all put Flamigo here, no issue. Has better results than Flamigo. And it does insanely well into Flamigo. So I'd say
until they click Wide Guard in front of you, and then you're like, well, I guess they got a turn, or they protect that turn. It's like, oh, well, I guess they blanked another turn.
Oh, well, if you're playing the 50-50s and like choosing that, but you can also call the 50-50 against them. They could click Wide Guard, and all of a sudden they
except they're also focus sash, so then like they just double into you and you die.
The thing between Flamigo and Ninetales is the way that Flamigo is able to generally threaten a lot of our top meta Pokemon. Of those top 6 S tier Pokemon, Flamigo hits every single one of them super effectively. And that's fantastic. I mean, you're able to do damage into the best Pokemon in the format, in which Ninetales hits 2 of them for super effective damage, the rest of them
and loses the matchup against the other 4.
I'm putting my foot down. I'm keeping it an A. My computer on this one. I think. Again, we have
you can put it in A. That doesn't mean we agree with you.
I think it has, and it has the results. I think really truly backing it. Where I think it's an A tier mon.
I think this is a player diff mon. I don't think this is a good mon.
Okay. Going on. Let's go. I think. Moment. Let's just because I feel like there was one other D tier mon that was like really good.
Oh yeah, Typhlosion.
No, not that one. It's good, but no, I'm just going through. I thought there was like another one that we were like, oh yeah, that should have been like A tier.
Sinistra, Typhlosion, Delphox.
I know Sinister, Typhlosion, Delphox,
Um,
the Zoroark. We didn't
yeah, Zoroark has seen play.
honestly, we didn't miss as much as I thought we did. Let's just go through real quick. Sinistra, I think as we're moving to that B tier anyway, I think Sinistra is a very, very, very solid B tier. Again, it has a win at Baltimore. There we go. As a win at Baltimore, it was a featured mon on one of the top early meta component like teams. It's just a good mon. Like we're finally, it's been a year, but we're finally seeing the results that we thought it was going to have back in Regulation E.
I hate this stupid thing. I hate this stupid Pokemon. It's so dumb.
Why? Because what's your win rate against it?
So I actually went and looked for Ninetales. I have not played Ninetales at all. The data entry sheet that I've been using, Jay has also been putting it on, in which we have he has played against it once and lost. So take that with what you will. Sinistra is probably a little different.
Yeah, so you are probably seeing a lot of Sinistra. The most common
Sinistra, I have 100% win rate against.
You know,
actually.
you did say you were doing well against rain teams, and that's what I was about to say. We're seeing Sinistra on a lot of the rain teams that have been the most common rain variant being the screens variant with Sinistra as the grass type over a mon like Rillaboom or a Moongus, adding a speed control component with Trick Room, being able to heal up your Archaludon. These teams also are using it's pretty much like Rain plus Mouse Ape. You're not using the Baskia Legion, or you might be, depending on like the variant. The Sinistra in general, though, keeping your main damage dealers on those teams are the Ape and the Arch. So the Sinistra being able to keep those mons healthy, protect them with the Rage Powder, heal them with both Hospitality and the Life Dew ability attack is really really good. Another D tier, as you said, is Hisuian Typhlosion. I'm not.
This thing hits so goddamn hard.
It does, except it hasn't had a single result that's legitimate over the last month.
I will agree with that. It is one of those Pokemon that like when you see it, you go, "Oh shit!"
Earlier in the episode, we were just talking about how like this mon right here pretty much stopped me from running Ursaluna Fergraph stuff because I had my only play into it was defensive Terra and protect, and if you can read that and go for something into the draft and just mess it up that way. It's such an amazing Pokemon. It's very, very powerful. It's another big surprise. And
I play tested Typhlosion a lot after Baltimore.
yeah,
like I probably had 100 matches with this thing. It plus, it's like I love Typhlosion. I love clicking Eruption, and for it to actually have a form that is like good and viable for it to be able to do so is awesome.
it's definitely the best Eruption Mon and one of the probably the best special attacking Firemon, which I mean, just going to do this real quick.
Yeah, Torkoal sucks.
Torkoal sucks. Sun sucks. Who called that? Oh wait, I did. And Skeledirge, fun, cool. I like
sucks.
it. It's not good. It's definitely C tier.
I think you can probably bring Meowscarada down as well.
Yeah.
And probably Araquanid and Clefairy.
Yeah, Clefairy being down and Clefable is definitely B tier.
Yeah.
Actually, if you want to go with Clefable, let's talk about all three Follow Me Mons. This pod has been always high on Electabuzz and Magmar as Follow Me Mons. We were riding the Electabuzz train going into Regulation G with that the Tub team with Blood Moon, Fergraph, Cali Eye stuff with the Electabuzz, and to see it be predominantly featured on one of the top balanced teams in Europe is really, really great. Magmar is also running that same exact skill set, being able to run Vital Spirit, you're supportive but in a different manner. The Electabuzz, you're getting some speed control with the Electro Web.
Electabuzz is. I talked about this a couple weeks back with Jay. I think it was after Baltimore.
Yeah, it was one of the ones I wasn't after.
Its moveset is really weird. It has access to like Volt Switch and Electro Web, which are like good for like being able to pivot and or speed control. But like in a format where there's so much priority, specifically like King Gambit and Rillaboom, that form of speed control isn't really what you need. And additionally, like you really don't want to Electro Web into a King Gambit switch in.
No.
So like if you get taunted, like Electabuzz doesn't really do anything besides like click Electro Web, or they like are going to be able to read that you're going to make a switch. Like,
yeah,
it's not a good time for you either way.
And while Electabuzz did have more play in day 1, day 2 of Dortmund last year, the most successful one, like of the redirect, well, Electabuzz came in second, but Magmar, I think like there were like 5 Magmars that cut, and only a handful of Electabuzz, and all 5 of them finished top 16, I believe, or somewhere close to that. For the people who, so, I know Michel Kelch, MDB, has been big on the Magmar. He was the person pushing the balance team with Magmar. He said I think it was in his team report, he said he pretty much brought it every single match, if not almost every single game. It is the mirror match breaker, having that offensive fire, like whether it's with the Will-O-Wisp, where if you're again playing this balance mirror, Electabuzz versus they have Electabuzz, you have Magmar. Well, now you have a Will-O-Wisp that goes into Dragapult, King Gambit, Rilla, and Sneasler, and just shuts down all 4 of those Pokemon immediately. And specifically for the King Gambit and Rillaboom as well, you also have Overheat. You're a Magmar, you're not doing a ton of damage, but the raw base power is more than enough to be able to do a serious chunk of damage to these Pokemon when they're caught out of position, not able to Terra. It's also a button to click in front of Goldango, which is amazing as well. I'd say in general, after this weekend, you could we talked so much about Electabuzz and Magmar. Clefable was the redirector to win Dortmund. Unaware is an amazing ability. Its support kit is unreal. We just saw Misty Terrain as the tech move on the winning Clefable. This move is a complete counteract to all of the Will-O-Wisp from the Talonflames and the Magmars in the format, the Spores from Amoonguss, the Sleep Powders from Viv, and of course the absolute monstrosity that is Dire Claw. It is a click button fix to just handle that. While also
something that I was testing there for like a couple days was Misty Terrain Whimsicott to like mess up my opponent that way as well. Like being able to shut down Spores from Amoonguss with a single click seems really cool. And like of course, like everything you just said, you have Will-O-Wisp running around, you have Tire Claws that are annoying. It also prevents Ursaluna from getting burnt. So like there's some really cool things that Misty Terrain does.
It also helps you into Dragapult as well. The Dragon Dart's damage is gonna
Didn't even think about that
be decreased a ton, which is really important for like the teams that Clefable finds itself on. The one that won Dortmund was that Double Dragon team with Garchomp and Hydreigon on it. So both of them don't like Dragon type moves, and also. Hydreigon would prefer to click a Draco Meteor more often, but it doesn't need to, like Choice Specs Heat Wave or Choice Specs Dark Pulse. in combination with that earthquake is also really, really great. So if you can prevent those Pokemon from taking that super effect, that Dragon Darts to the full extent that you can, I think that's really, really important.
Yeah. Also, again, so we're just grabbing the Mons from D. Gengar, super quick, C tier. It was on the top balance team. Eh.
I think
Um,
there's a lot of things in B we can move down real quick too. I think Gyarados,
Arcanine. So
Asmil.
Gyarados, I am going to move it down super tentatively.
Gyarados
So
had 4 people play it in Dortmund, and its top placement was 552.
a lot of people were using it in Lima today. There was a new balance. I don't know. I saw a lot. So actually, this was a fun thing to bring up, and I'm just going to get the Twitter, not the Twitter, the YouTube account now. Last week, Jay and I were talking about about how we need better coverage of Latin American events. There is, where are you? So there is a not a Twitter, a YouTube account called Play Latam that
Yep.
had stream coverage for TCG, Go, and VGC, all in Spanish for our Spanish speaking listeners. I am not one of them. So they had live streams.
I could be wrong. I feel like they do Spanish restreams of the actual streams as well.
They
I
might.
I have definitely
So
heard of them.
this
I think
is
that might be why.
So I'm just looking at their recently streamed. So they streamed day one and day two of of TCG Go and VGC, and then if you look at their video, no, this is a brand new account. I think they were doing stuff on Twitch, but at least for YouTube, this is their this is like new for YouTube. And
Okay.
one of the things I did notice looking at this stream, there was a oh man, I typed it out in one of my group chats. There was a team that I saw, I wasn't watching it a ton, but I was seeing it on and off. It was Gambit, Dragapult, Alola Tail, Sneasler, Gyarados, Magmar. I saw that team a handful of times. I saw it in Top Cut. This could be a new version or at least an update of the balance teams. Gyarados does have a really great skill kit. You have taunt, you have the Thunder Wave, you're an Intimidate Mon, which one of the things with a lot of these non-Instant balance teams are missing is Intimidate. That's one of the reasons why the Tangs decided to bring Salamence, Spec Salamence specifically, as their dragon type over the Dragapult in their version of the Rillaboom, King Gambit, Dragon, Sneasler balance. So they actually have an Intimidate Mon. Gyarados also plays that role. I understand what we're saying though. We have not seen it in a non-Latin event, and honestly, we haven't seen it before this weekend. So right now, it's a C tier. I agree with that. Wouldn't be shocked if by LAIC, it's back in B.
Azu is another one that I think you could have drop off the side of
Yeah,
a cliff.
don't have anything for Azu.
I legitimately think you can drop Azu down to D.
Yeah, I love you, buddy, but yeah,
Goth is fine.
Goth is C.
Yeah, it's like a fine Mon, but I also don't think it's good.
If your name's not Wolf Click, then don't.
Moving into C, I think there's a lot of things we can fight with here as well.
I'm just going through this to see if there's anything we can move up to B super quickly. I mean not B, but Melendidi, B, C.
It's C.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Just going. Yeah, I just want to go through and just grab all the D's. I know. Make sure you call out if I missed something. Volbeat has. I'm going to keep Volbeat in D. It did have some results, but not enough.
Blaziken can go up to C.
Where is Blaziken can go up to C.
I love hearing that. It could probably go higher if you really wanted. You know,
I think it's a C.
I don't think it's it hasn't put up results like I want it to, obviously, but I do think that it is a good Mon in this format.
I think it's good. The balance team, like, it's not doing anything into Dragapult or Prim or those Mons. So I think that's the thing where I'm like, it's a little limited because right now the top balance is really messing with it.
Yeah, I like a Decadui going up to C.
Yeah, so like honestly, outside of the Sneasler debacle, it wasn't as bad. Like our list wasn't as bad as I thought. What else can move?
Delphox and Hisui and Zoroark, I think, are at least C each.
I know, like Greninja.
Yeah, that's also a C Pokemon. I like it's really good with Archaludon. Whether you're running loaded dice, water shuriken, or if you're like me and running choice specs, it's really fun.
My buddy Chase went and day 2'd with it on his rain team. Shout out Rhode Island.
Why though?
You know, like, I'm sorry that my friends are good at this game and I'm not.
No, I mean, why shout out Rhode Island?
Oh, because
what has that state ever done?
Well, it gave you me, so I think that in itself.
Like I said.
You asshole. I'm gonna die.
Angela,
Rhode Island's on my shit list.
Giving him layups
you.
right now. You're just giving Carter layups at the moment.
The Phillies, I mean, I haven't checked in the last minute, but we were tied bottom of the 9th, so I might be...
Oh, yeah, I'll go... Let me go look so I can make fun of you.
I might be going to cardiac arrest soon. Okay, we have men on first and second, 2 outs. Castellanos. I'm either going to ascend to heaven or I'm going to have, like, a heart attack on stream.
Castellanos is up.
It's either going to be an aneurysm...
In play runs. Oh my god, we won. Oh my god, we won. We won this bitch. We are back, folks. We are back.
You can't be back if you're never there.
Go shut up, you're a Padres fan.
I don't think there's really anything else down here that we need to bring up.
Do you want to move to, you know,
actually,
I think that's
honestly,
C tier.
I think Toadscruel and Quaquaval. Not Quaquaval. What's the other stupid bird?
Kilowattrel. Kilowattrel.
I actually think Quaquaval is probably C tier.
I was going to say Quaquaval. I will take Quaquaval. Semper used it to, like, do really, really well in the global challenge.
Yeah, you can pair it next to Oricorio because Aqua.
Yes, I know.
It did well in Dortmund, I believe, too. I think it had a top 32 finish.
Yeah,
its typing is good. Aqua Step is really strong, and being able to boost with Moxie and also getting
maybe that's the fighting type that's gonna pop off.
Honestly, maybe, like, especially, like, you can run it in. People have like Basculegion. We really didn't get to Basculegion. We just moved it up. Basculegion is really, really good. The adaptability sets are really powerful with Choice Scarf. That's another.
Or you can just be Swift Swim and run Choice Band and clap people. Like,
well, what I was going to say as well was that was another Mon that we saw that's, while usually paired with Pelipper, it did make the top 12 in usage for day 2 in Dortmund. And again, Pelipper did not. So there were people using the non-rain Basculegion, which is, again, like, it's a good sign, in my opinion, for a Pokemon that while it's so closely affiliated to a weather, that it's successful without the weather too.
I think some more stuff that we can move down, just quickly looking at this. It's hard for me to say that Smeargle should stay up here. It had one player in Dortmund, and it did not do anything.
It has no results. See you in January, Smeargle.
I think that Hitmontop can probably get dropped off. I think Dusclops is probably pretty bad. Third row.
Polytoad
sucks.
No, Polytoad had a couple good results.
Yeah, I think Polytoad.
Yes.
Poly's fine.
See, I'm a fair god.
No, you're not. You wouldn't
yes,
listen about Alola Tales.
Yeah, I'm keeping Polytoad in C. I'm a fair person.
I think Tyranitar can probably go up from C. That could probably be tier. You know, it doesn't run with the sand abusers that were kind of
I think
used
So
to
I
seeing
think so that was actually what I was going to say. Kamikaze Kid, you already know how I feel. So actually, I'm not going to give a disclaimer. I think all the sands, like abusers suck. I think I think Tyranitar is a good mon. I've thought it was a good mon. It had like a 2 week span where it was unbelievable, and then everyone realized that, oh, this funny bird that's an actual animal minus one letter, and like if Weavile went more hot topic somehow, that these two mons were insanely good, and that made Tyranitar really, really sad. But the ability to, it's great on these ballots. It is a great flex spot on these like Ursaluna P2 balance teams. We've seen it do well. The Italians really liked it about a month or so ago. The ability to just disrupt weather when you have Pelipper and Rain as an option, the format is great. The Sand chip is unbelievable. It is a bit of an Assault Vest hog and a Terra hog in a format where everyone wants Assault Vest and everyone wants Terra, which kind of sucks. And like if we did this a month ago, I'd probably say it would be an A tier mon, but I think it's very settled at B. Like if you don't have a plan into it, it will beat you.
I think that Braviary can drop off a cliff.
That was a fun meme.
I think that Mimikyu and Garg can probably get dropped off a cliff.
See? Again, fair God. I love my baby, but you know, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Rest in
My
peace,
Pokemon's
Garg.
better. I think Orthworm can probably get dropped off too. Like, Orthworm's really weird, man.
So
like, it hasn't done anything, but I also think that like there's so many ground types running around in this format, it could.
I was literally just about to say that. Like,
it's so weird.
At some point,
Jay, when are you playing the regional?
I'm actually going to go to Jay's face. So that's the other thing. So I have to go run. I have to run this by my wife. To make
you can say that now.
I can't. You didn't see it. Look at this.
I know. I saw.
That's gorgeous.
Yeah, Angelo, I've seen. You sent me pictures of it.
Well, you haven't.
I made fun of you for being rich and having a family jeweler.
One of those things is false, and it's the fact that I'm rich. I do have to go send her pictures of the rings. Now that I think of it, I mean she's seen them, but still, it's yeah. Moving.
This had a point beforehand, and I believe that it was that Angelo has to run it by his wife to see if he could potentially come to a local that I'm going to be going to.
Yeah, so Jay and I will be able to see each other for the first time in like, oh my god, 2.5 years. No, we saw each other in Secaucus.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
So yeah, it would be the first time since Secaucus 22 that we'd be able to see each other. And
are y'all gonna record something live? That'd be so cool.
I was going to more so say we're not going to record anything that night, and you're going to have to get Carl.
I have a 2-hour drive.
No, you all can just record at the local.
We could. That would be fun.
Jay, you record off a laptop, right?
Yes,
I mean, I do a laptop. Jay's recorded off his phone once before, and his camera looked better than my laptop camera.
Yeah, I also probably wouldn't have the internet issues I've been having all night tonight. So.
Yeah. Back to what I was saying. Excadrill, C or D, because I think it's a D tier mon. I don't think it's good.
I don't think it's good either.
I think that you can just be running literally any other Sashmon that does actual things.
I think Grimmsnarl needs to move up.
Yeah.
I think Excadrill is probably fine in C. It's not
I think it's probably fine. Like,
it's not the worst thing. I mean, it has decent matchups into a lot of Pokemon. It's not bad into a lot of the priority stuff, like Extreme Speed. Has a decent natural defense into it. With the Sand Rush, like, you are pretty fast. If they don't have Intimidate on their team, you're going to hit a lot of things for, pretty good damage. I'm not convinced that it's like a good Pokemon or anything, but I don't think it's like a bottom of the barrel mon either.
I think it's more so like it being a ground type and a steel type are really good in this format, especially being a ground type offensively. But you either have to use Earthquake, which means you're using Terra. You have to either protect or go Terra Flying, on your T-Tar because you want the sand up to use this mon, and you can't Earthquake next to your T-Tar regardless. And it's like you can run T-Tar with these other sash. Like you can run T-Tar with Sneasler. You can run it with Flamigo. You can like use other Sashmons with it, and that put out a ton of damage. If you like want a Sand Abuser, Sandvale Garchomp, and even then, I just be Rough Skin, because Rough Skin Garchomp is your Maushold counter. You're both going down. But you know, it's like that like fun little suicide pact you have between you and the family. Wow, that's going to put me on a list if I'm not on one already.
You probably are.
Absolutely, I am. So are you two.
That's okay.
Because of you.
We're probably on a better list than some people. Like we
are.
We could be on like the Diddy Party lists or something. Like that would be.
Is any of this usable?
That would be pretty.
No,
is this episode usable?
This entire episode is usable. Well, Jay going in and out, but also amazing cut-ins when you do get your internet back.
Yeah.
No, this is usable. Like in the grand scheme of things, like, you know, I'm high. I don't want to like jump like swan dive out of my building. So yeah, no, this is definitely usable. Anything else you were saying that should be like moved up? Because I'm going through the C tier. Like I maybe could have I been a little too. I think like part of me is like I'm a little too harsh with Bax, but also
I think Bax is pretty bad in all actuality.
It has such a bad matchup into all the steel types, but
Yeah.
it has.
Drop
It's
it
also
off a cliff.
It's also a stat ball, so I think going from A to C is good.
Drop it off a cliff.
That I think.
I also think that a lot of the Baxes are going to start running like that ground type coverage. They do get high horsepower, so
yeah.
You know, I've seen some that are like Icicle Spirit, Glaive Rush, Ice Shard. I'm sure
Scale Shot has been another set that's popular.
Yeah, I think
We've
Scale
also
Shot's
seen-
really cool on Garchomp, right?
Yeah, so you can Scale Shot. You can so no, it's Dragonite's been the one
we
you
have
can
seen the
Scale Shot.
Dragonite, but I think it's also not bad on Garchomp. Like
I didn't even know it gets. Scale Shot.
It does. So it's like
That's interesting.
kind of cool because you can boost your speed up, be faster than Pult.
That makes you super fast.
Yeah, and like if you're running Swords Dance and Redirection with it, you can get Swords Dance, start clicking Scale Shot, make yourself really fast, and go crazy. But I do think the Life Orb is a lot more consistent right now.
I was saying like so, but like the Swords Dance Scale Shot on Garchomp, that's like the type of tech that you can run during one of the global challenges when people really aren't expecting it, and that's like I could see like that's a sort of weird tech in a global challenge that gets you that next like that could get you a good placement because people are so prepped for the classic Protect 3 attack or the Swords Dance double ground or like Rock Slide high horsepower variants of Garchomp. I didn't even know that it gets Scale Shot, so that could be super cool.
Yeah.
Other mons, like I think everything, like actually,
I think Abomasnow can drop. I think
Metagross can drop. Abomasnow,
Alolan Muck can drop. Ceruledge can probably go down. Yeah, the Rotoms.
I actually think Ceruledge can stay in C.
Okay, that's fine. Respect.
I think let me just run it by Lab Mouse. I feel like.
I mean, Poltergeist, Shadow Sneak, Bitter Blade are really good moves. Like, you can run Clear Amulet on it with Terra Grass or Terra Fairy even. I don't hate that. You do struggle into, like, Incineroar specifically.
Okay, so actually recently it hasn't been doing as well as I thought. I thought maybe it was Baltimore had a good placement. And let me see if I go back there. No, it didn't actually. Yeah, no, the highest placement it has at a major is a 60th place, a 3-3 in Joinville. So
maybe we put it down in D.
Yeah. Sorry, buddy. I tried.
Cool mod, but
very
cool. Really cool design. Not a very good Bond.
Awful shiny.
Yeah. Yeah.
Terrible shiny.
I think we should discuss some of the Pokemon that we moved up.
I think we should discuss Cerulegids and Armarouge's shinies more. And like what a missed opportunity it is that they didn't just like swap armor colors.
Oh my god, yeah, no, straight to prison. Straight to prison.
Or if they even like were able to go into like Sharky that's like red with blue that it's shiny in.
Or
yes.
like,
yeah, literally
anything else.
Colors.
Yeah, like the eye colors, so lame.
Lame. Terrible.
A
Terrible
flash,
shiny.
A Flash Fire Mon
worse than Garchomp shiny.
A Flash Fire Mon that has an actually good shiny is Chandelure. This is one of the Pokemon we moved up from D to C. Chandelure is an offensive Trick Room setter. It's able to put out a ton of damage with its massive base. I believe it's base 145 special attack.
It's absurd.
Yep. It is the strongest special attacker technically in the format. So
yeah, that's absolutely nutty. So having that
and Vikavolt are tied.
Which is honestly crazy that we don't see Vikavolt, but then you remember it's a bug electric type, and then it's not crazy.
Then you
anymore.
remember it's a bug.
Yeah. No.
Remember when people were excited for Rotom being able to Terra Electric and have like no weakness?
No, that was what everyone was saying with Cress, and even now it's like in some of the non VGC Pokemon adjacent servers I'm in, like people will be like, "Oh, I'd run Electros because it's not weak to anything." I'm like, buddy, that still means you're running an Electros. I don't like.
I don't think you understand. It's still not good.
That's why Terra Electric Orthworm never took off either. I mean, like neutral hits are not good either. Like you want to use your Terra if you're using it defensively to completely wall something out, right? Like Electric Terra
removing weaknesses does not mean you're like immune to attack.
Yeah.
Because like
it's not Terra Electric Shedinja with Air Balloon, okay? Like that's not what we got going on here.
So glad that never like actually came to fruition.
Like we know that the electric type in terms of defensive synergy is not a very great defensive type. Like it's got it has the one weakness, but it has so many neutralities across the board. Just like everything that batters hits it for neutral damage, which doesn't feel nice.
Yeah. So back to Chandelure again.
Really good shiny, I will agree.
Yeah, great shiny, flash fire, really high special attack stat. One of the best offensive Trick Room setters. It also
gets imprisoned, doesn't it?
It does get imprisoned. I think
it does. I just
okay.
Looked.
I was going to say it sounds right that it gets imprisoned. Ghost typing is also pretty decent. Just really great mon to have into something such as to go into Pokemon like Goldango, Incineroar. Like it's great into Goldango, Amoonguss, Rilla. All like the fact that there's so many really strong steel types in the format, having the ability to just set off a super strong heat wave, and also if you have like a Flare Blitz going into your own steel type, Shan's a great switch-in for that as well. The other
Chandelure has 3 very good abilities. Like Flash Fire, Flame Body, and Infiltrator are all like relevant in their own ways.
Yeah, the other 2 fire types we moved up, Blaziken and Delphox, 2 of the starter Pokemon that have had really great times in Regulation H. Carter, you actually have been using a fair bit of both of these. So actually, you can cover Blaziken because that's your favorite Pokemon, and Jay, you can talk about why Delphox is being good.
So Blaziken is I think after a single boost is the fastest coaching user in the format, outside of exactly Riolu.
Unburdened Sneasler.
Yeah, also true. Unburdened Sneasler and Holucha are technically faster. But I mean, like getting a single coaching boost into like a King Gambit is obviously insane. Huge shout outs to Sableye VGC for day 2ing with Blaziken, which I know he's not the only one who has done so at this point. But like his team was just like, I'm Focus Sash Blaziken, I'm gonna protect, and then I'm gonna outspeed you and click you close combat and like blow you up. And like if that's not good enough, I'm going to coaching onto my Choice Band Dragapult and make you sad.
its stab coverage or bolt is like very important and impactful in this format as well. Like you once again hit all six of those Pokemon up in that S tier for super effective damage, which is really really key. So even when you're not setting coaching boosts, you're now a fast attacker with good stats. That's able to do a lot of damage. A lot of them will run Focus Sash. Sometimes they'll run Clear Amulet, depending on
I
which one you want to lean a little bit more into.
actually just looked at the Dartman data. There were 7 Blazikins. All 7 of them were Focus Sash.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it makes sense that Focus Sash is the best for it, especially because you can coach in your way back up. One of the nice things is if you do, even if depending on, so let me check Jolly. So if you're adamant, once you get a coaching boost, you always OHKO Arch. Again, assuming it doesn't have its own stamina boosts. And actually, no, if you're Jolly, actually, even if you're Jolly, you are always one-hit KOing Arch after a single coaching boost, which
Coaching
is
busted.
really great. Yeah, after a coach, if you're able to keep your Blaziken safe after a coaching, you're +1/+1/+1 with your speed stat going up. The Jolly Blazikins, after a single coaching, outspeed the Dragapult. It is a really, really cool mon. I think the only thing that's really hurting it is the fact that
It's a Blaziken and has no bulk.
it has no bulk. It has a bad matchup into Dragapult. Dragapult is probably its best partner, and
Yes.
also
Dragapult and King Gambit are,
Yep.
and like even Rillaboom, like getting a coaching boost on Rillaboom and then getting to click Grassy Glide is like a thing of
absurd.
Yeah.
But then it's like it has a really bad matchup into the drag.
You don't like Primarina, you don't like Pelipper.
No, you don't. Yeah, Basculegion messes you up completely. So it's like, I mean, Dozo just complete. And while we did keep Dozo in A tier, I feel like again that's more of a respect thing. Dozo had an awful weekend last week. Everyone is running multiple Dozo counters,
which is like also why I think we kept Murkrow in B.
Yeah.
Like having having Prankster Haze is obviously very good. And like Primarina is like the best A tier Pokemon, or at least probably one of the best. Having access to Haze is like a common move slot on it as well.
Yeah, and again, it's like one of those things where last week we looked, I believe, almost, I think it was like well over 90% of the prims in day 2 might have been like all but 1 or 2 were using Haze as that 4th move slot. So that's
Do you know what the cutoff for how many teams day 2 in Dortmund?
It was like 111, I think.
It's very
like
large.
101.
Yeah, it was a very big day too.
Yeah.
101 is correct.
Yeah. So just having that there, like, Prim makes it life, and it makes life tough for all these Pokemon. Delphox, Jay, if you want to dive into that, and maybe along with Delphox, why we moved up Indeedee Male, because the two of them go together.
Yeah, so there was this really good team that we talked about a little bit last week. That was an Indeedee Male Delphox squad. Did very well at Dortmund. That it gives you just this very fast, very offensive, expanding force mode that pair really well with that team had Mouse Ape on it. So it has like a more passive kind of slow build up mode with the Mouse Ape, while also being able to go super fast and just start spamming expanding force with Delphox and Indeedee. It's really cool. It's like similar to what like the weakness policy weak armor set was, but without the necessary setup with like Iron Bundle flip turn into it and stuff, which can also be very annoying. I think that this core it's really cool. It does a lot of damage. I know I was testing it a little bit. I enjoyed it. It wasn't necessarily the way that I would like. I do like the Trick Room expanding force teams, just a little bit more comfortable for me. But this very fast mode is very hard to deal with if you don't have a wide guarder, the dark types, the Pokemon that are faster than Delphox, which it has I think it's 179 is its max speed.
Yes, it is.
So
absurdly
it's
fast.
quite quick.
Yeah, base 104 is absolutely crazy. That means it's outpacing mons like Garchomp, which are usually
171. I'm sorry, not
yeah
179.
171.
171.
Yeah,
Okay.
so yeah,
Maushold is 179.
Okay.
That's why I know that number. So unfortunately, you do get outsped by Maushold. So like, just
Yeah.
don't play
What
against them.
that was kind of the issue that I found in the Delphox and DD mode is that neither of them are particularly like bulky Pokemon, and both of them are not fast enough to outspeed things like Sneasler, Dragapult, and Maushold, which are all very common, very popular, and do a lot of damage to both of them. So you kind of need to work your way around that a little bit. That's why you have your other modes. But I think that like it's very similar to like what Iron Crown was doing in previous
yeah,
formats. Just now you get to run choice specs. So
yep.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and say it. That's what I'm playing in Louisville at this point. I'm playing in DD Delphox next to
Mouse egg.
Whimsicott, Mouse Ape, and Sneasler. So like the team has done by far the best I've done in a long time in testing.
Yeah, no,
I've hit like my personal highs on Showdown in like in any format I've ever played. This is the best team I've ever played in my opinion. Like in prep, I should say. It has done very very well for me. I've really enjoyed playing it, and the amount of games where you're just like, well, I'm going to lead Whimsicott plus Delphox, set Tailwind, and then blow you up with a Heat Wave. Which, like, if that doesn't, if that picks up the KO, the next turn I'm going to set Sunny Day and do it again.
yeah, I've also been testing it with Carter, and I haven't had the same type of success with it personally. It is a little hard for me to play, as I like to play like slower paced, more balancey
Yep.
teams, and Carter is
Which I want to click the damage button.
It was a little bit of a culture shock, and I was like trying my best to fix around some things, but also keep it in Carter's wheelhouse, and it was really tough because I was like, oh, I want to try female NDD with this, and I was like, oh, this kind of sucks too. Like, this doesn't really help me too much. I'm like, maybe this just isn't the team for me, but I also like, I had success with it. I had a good time playing it. I really enjoyed a lot of what was going on.
It's very fun to play. Like at a minimum, it is a very fun team to play.
Yeah.
The reason why I haven't really, at least I've looked at over the pace, I've helped with in terms of like, hey, I think we should do this or this. I haven't played because I know for a fact I'm even more balancy than Jay is. And
Angelo, do it one time. Just click the super effective button. It's so worth it.
I mean, like I've played teams like that, which is weird because like once we get back to Reg G, I'm going to be a Miraidon player when I just take a flamethrower to your type chart and say, "Nice math, nerd." Count this.
That's the looking at the mons here in the like S tier. All of them died at Delphox, except for exactly Incin, which is why you have Sneasler to punch Incin.
I was going to say, which is why you have multiple fighting types on the team.
Yeah,
I have Sneasler, and like every time I've played against Incin, obviously they want to bring it because I have a size spam mode, right? So it's just like, all right, I'm going to lead Whimsicott plus Ape, and then just punch your Incin because you're going to lead it. And then game 2, you're going to switch up and leave Incin in the back and make a read that you're going to switch in on my Expanding Force. And instead, I'm going to switch in my Ape, and I'm going to get a boost and then punch you.
The team was very fun. I'm going to, like...
It is right up my alley of just hyper offensive, deal as much damage as possible, and that's the thing is like, because you're in DD male, you have Imprisoned Trick Room as well, so like you have game there. Legitimately, like the Sinistra Rain teams kind of give me a little bit of trouble, but it's like it's only problematic if Trick Room goes up specifically. So like those matchups is just like, well, are you going to set Tailwind or are you going to set Trick Room? Like, what is your game plan so I know how to interact with it appropriately? And I feel like I've lost a lot of those coin flips.
Yeah. And it's try and also like the pelipper, if they aren't running the tailwind, they might have. Well, they're going to have a move like wide guard, which also makes it tough for you. The
Legitimately, you say that every time. Like if there's just a wide guard user on the field, you just don't click the move.
you
Like
just click
it's that
overheat.
simple.
I've
Yeah.
struggled against the wide guard pelipper with in my practice with the team. I really like the team has issues with anything that's faster than it is what I've
Yes, that
recognized.
is legitimately the
Um,
biggest problem is
and
if they have like their own unburdened sneasler, or you don't have tailwind up when like Dragapult comes out.
yeah,
Like
and
those are losing situations.
Whimsicott is like a very cornerstone Pokemon on this team. Like it's your answer to Trick Room as well because you want to click Encore, and
Yep.
it makes it a little tough with Psychic Terrain and Redirection. Being around the block everywhere. Um, I certainly had suggestions that I sent to Carter for it, and it's a tough team to play. Like it is genuinely tough, especially in a best of three when you have knowledge of exactly what's on that other side, what these Pokemon can do. But if you have the right matchups, if you play it properly, it is very hard to beat.
Yeah,
And that's the thing is like everything you just said is completely true. Like you have to play the team well for it to do well, and I feel like I've made a lot of very good plays in like testing and everything to give me the confidence to be able to play it.
yeah. So the other two Pokemon that we moved that we really didn't discuss too much, Hisuian Zoroark, which had its moment and really hasn't been much of a thing. Hisuian Zoroark was just being seen as another mode on these hard trick room teams. What was really nice is the fact that you can go in and with hard trick room, um, people have these set game plans, and if they lead this, I do this. If they lead this, I do this, and being able to fake that lead, and instead you have a Specs Hisuian Zoroark that is immune to fighting type attacks, ghost type attacks, normal type attacks, so no fake outs go into it, and you can click these massive stab moves like Hyper Voice to just throw off your opponent's plan and make them second guess every play. It's a neat thing. Back in Regulation F, I played who was it? I played Ian, and he had a Hisuian Zoroark team, and we went 3 games. And while I won the set, I won the battle, but he won the war because in game 2 I got so hard by the Hisuian Zoroark that alone made it feel like even though I won the set, I lost everything. And Toadscruel over here, Toadscruel, like, kind of, I'll bring these guys down because you're never going to see Toadscruel without the Weezings. Um, it's just Weezing's best partner. Again, the reason why Viv is B tier is because we're like, oh, super fast Spore, really good. Well, super fast Sleep. This is super fast Spore, and that in itself, along with it being a ground type, where you can, whoops, there we go, missed that. The fact that you're a ground type here is also super useful. Speed wise, you're base 100, which means you're actually the fastest Spore, if not the fastest Sleep in the game. What if you're 252 timid? I can't think of any faster Sleep than the 100 base speed.
The Lilligans.
The Lilligans, is it? Do they have to be in Sun?
I thought they were. Is Hisuian Lilligan is like 112?
Hisuian
right?
is base 105.
Okay,
Hisuian's
105.
base 105.
Regular Lilligan, I think, is 95. So,
Yes, that sounds correct.
90.
90.
Yeah. So, but like Sleep Powder compared to Spore as well. Like that's base 100 Spore.
Toad is also really cool because you get Acid Spray too, so you can pair it really well with there was Choice Specs Weezing, which was a big Pokemon to pair with it, but also like Choice Specs Typhlosion Hisuian, which is you get a if you get the Whimsicott with the Tailwind up, you get the Sunny Day set up, and then you get an Acid Spray off in front of a Terrifier Eruption. Like nothing is living that. There's just nothing that in existence. Like that's a goodbye damage calculator, type calc. So, and also it gets Trick Room too, which is another just like really interesting little niche that it can do. Is that if your speed matchup isn't well on the fast side, you can also just go into Trick Room and go very slow. Use your slower Wheezing or your slower Annihilate. I believe Blood Moon was on some of these teams at some point as well.
Hmm.
Just as like a Trick Room mode, which is also really cool. Um,
Yeah,
I,
we've seen Corviknight kill a Wattrel with it. I think one of the other cool things is it's also a Rage Powder Mon,
yeah,
and you have that where you can be that redirection bot. Not as good, of course, as our Follow Me Mons that are all in B tier, but it's still a another like button you can click to keep like your Wheezing safe, to just make sure that you have more turns with that neutralizing gas to really hinder your opponent's strategies and maximize your strategy with trying to get these fast spores out and getting the damage off with the spec squeezing, which, I mean, again, with all the multipliers, does a little more damage than you would think. Um, are we keeping Hat in B, or are we dropping that to C as well?
It can probably get dropped off a cliff.
I think it's we're putting it in C. Hard Trick Room is what it is.
it's still
I tried to
decent.
play it
It's
early
still
on.
good.
Well, actually, pretty recently. Um, I thought I wanted to do like trick room things, and unfortunately, it just, eh. Yeah. I
I'm also
tried
like,
it, wasn't for me.
yeah, I'm also just going through this. I think like Tauros, a really really great early meta mon, or at least at the start of the meta. The biggest issue again that Tauros had is that like its stats are very min maxed,
Hmm.
but it's also the stats of a Tauros.
Yeah, it's still a Tauros at the end of
Yeah,
the day.
like your base, like when you look at it, base 70, like base 75, 105, 70 bulk isn't great. You get intimidate, but your special bulk is pretty bad.
Still bad, yeah.
Base 110 attack, base 100 speed is very very good. Well, base 110 attack is relatively solid comparatively. Base 100 speed in these formats is usually pretty good. It always just felt like when I was using them on that you were just missing out on the KO, and that's why like Basculation was just better. Prim was just better. Prim does more for you um,
Primal
in general.
doesn't care about opposing intimidate. Like,
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So I think overall,
I
like,
think I'm locking it in. I don't think
yeah,
there's anything
I
else I
think
want to fight with.
I'm going through. I think I'm pretty solid on this.
Yeah, I'm happy with it. I think that everything
Yeah.
here is pretty solid. There's a lot of cool picks in the format. I mean, you obviously have your best of the best, but there's a lot of things that you can use in these season D tiers that just fill like specific roles that you want to put on your team. Like no one thought that Delphox would be anywhere near
No.
good, or
Like, it,
Toadscool,
yeah.
or really any of these Pokemon in C that we end up seeing doing very well. Even a
I
lot
mean,
of these
like,
I
Pokemon
think
in
we could
B.
probably drop Gudra. I think that's like the one
oh yeah,
last change we could make.
yeah. You mean worse Como? Yeah. Sorry, Dad. Uh, yeah, I'd say that would be it. I think in general, um, Shawnish said this to me a few days back, and I think it really hits that. Of course, none of us played VGC in Generation 5, but when you look at the way the format is, a lot of Double Dragon, a lot of, while we have like cores and type cores and such, a lot of the teams are more so just like big stat balls that are good together and doing, and like you're able to make teams around like you can kind of like make a team that just stat checks your opponent, and it's like, okay, your team might have a better cohesive water fire grass, but I have like the three highest stat mons in the format, and I'm just going to click my boostly move and just blow you up, which is or like with Dragapult, I'm just faster and stronger than everyone else naturally, and I'm going to check your team. Doesn't matter if you have like what convoluted plan you have to go into me. I'm going to click Terra Dragon Outrage or Terra Dragon Dragon Darts, and you're going to see your HP bar drop pretty quickly. So like, it is very cool. Honestly, if there was no Dire Claw on the like if Sneasler just didn't have Dire Claw and just had like regular Poison Jab or something, I still think it would be used. And this
Dire
format,
Claw is nutty.
yeah, and this format would be like insanely healthy and good and fun. Not
I
that I
still
don't
think it is.
I still think it is as well, but that I think that would make it even. That's like the one thing I would be like, it's even better. I miss my restricted formats because I'm a sicko, but yeah, this is a really fun format, and I think we are here to lock this in. And with that being said, Jay, take us out of here.
All right, thank you guys so much for watching. Let Angelo know what the Phillies are going to finish in this series in the comments
What's the
down
series
below.
at currently?
1-1.
It's 1-1.
Yeah.
It's a best of 5 series?
Yep.
2-3.
If we lose Game 5 at the bank,
before Angelo starts killing Carter here, we're gonna
fine.
We're gonna move past this. Let us know what you would change in the tier list in the comments. Make sure you like, subscribe, and also let me know all the times that my internet went out. Give Verizon some calls and let them know to step their game up.
So obviously I'll be gone next week because of Louisville. The week after, I'm going to have fiber.
Yeah.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, I'm getting fiber.
That'll be great, because the week after, Jay and I will be holding hands in the tournament, and you'll be doing the pod yourself.
No, you're going to be recording with Jay live. So I'm going to be gone for like a month, it sounds like.
He got a vacation.
Yeah.
Go and check out the community Discord. We've been doing a lot of, team building in there. The community is very live, very active right now. The format is a really good time, and everyone's enjoying it. Check out the Twitter at LR Lessons, and check out the Discord and Patreon supporters links. Pay us money,
please.
That's all.
Help pay for my trip to Louisville.
Yeah, if you're going to be at Louisville, Carter will be there.
Hey, you know those stickers that I was supposed to, I think, send you? I found them.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, they were
the ones you were supposed to send me
in a box.
The ones that you were supposed to send me 2 years ago?
Well, yeah, when I was moving.
Yeah, tomato. So go up to Carter and mail me a sticker, and then after
you think I'm gonna keep them? They're gonna stay down in the basement. I'm not.
I'm saying let's hand them out at the tournament.
Yeah, I don't know where I found them. I didn't bring them up.
He knows where they are. If Carter does not bring stickers to Louisville, that
say hi to him.
That's an L take on Carter's end.
Yeah,
massive L. So go harass him for some stickers. And with that, we're gonna let Carter go watch the worst team ever, and a literal ear bleed every time I listen to him, because I have to hear, yeah, here we go, and it makes it. How is this 3 weeks in a row that I have to listen to this bull crap? Okay, like it is awful listening to Dak Prescott.
Watch it.
Put your pirate hat on, and yeah, here we go off the pod. Love you guys.
See you next week.